Ivana Tranchini. I work in professional services here in Auckland in New Zealand. I'm Australian originally, and I took part in Awaken 2019 in Malawi. Awaken has had an incredible impact on my ability to see the world in a more equitable fashion, and I don't mean just equitable in relation to the partners in countries like Malawi, but also just equitable in relation to the fact that we all are just people and we all just have our own issues but also our own roles to play. And I find myself looking and interacting with people in a bit of a different way, and there being less context and judgment, and a judgment of myself and judgment of others. And it's a really nice place to be, and it's you get much richer conversations, and you learn a lot more on an ongoing basis, which has been really, really impactful for me. I chose to take part in Awaken because a couple of key reasons. Number one, I am an avid traveller and have done a little bit of Africa, but never somewhere quite as different as Malawi. Secondly, as a professional, I had hit a point in my career where I had done quite a lot of different types of training, particularly around leadership and other types of training, but they were kind of starting to feel a little bit generic, and I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, and this program appeared to be able to do that for me, especially the way in which it brought together global issues and challenges from outside of my world with the notion of personal development. So it kind of seemed like a really great balance in that way, as well as being a huge challenge, in particular around the fundraising piece, which again gave me something to focus on and think about and own, which was really nice. The most challenging part was getting over myself and realising that it was okay to do it my way, and my way was to reach out to the networks that I had, and I was really fortunate to have really strong networks of people that were willing to give, and especially from a work point of view and a personal point of view. So I just did some social media stuff, and even that was pretty low key, and yeah, it actually wasn't as hard as I had imagined, but it was more just getting over myself. I learnt such an immense amount from the conversations that we had on the ground in Malawi. We spent a day ahead of going and meeting our partners there to understand that context and get our head around that context, and that notion of that actually, context aside, we're all people, and that preparation was so critical because it allowed us to have really equitable conversations. And so when I started talking to someone, like for example a gentleman named Humphrey, his biggest achievement was being able to have built the wealth to be able to buy his wife more than one skirt. And I know that sounds like, oh, how unfortunate she only has one skirt, but it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that he had the pride that he was able to do that. And I play that back into my experience, and my family were immigrants from Italy, and whilst I was born in Australia, my parents were born in Italy, and they were incredibly poor when they came to Australia, and so there was always this thing in our family about looking smart and clean and nice, and so there was a real parallel actually between Humphrey and my grandfather, and so little moments like that made me learn about the fact that people are people, context aside, and that was a really powerful learning for me. Came back feeling really energized, and the challenge was for me, how do I then bring that into my day-to-day life? And I think I probably that was the biggest thing for me, is coming back and looking at what I was doing currently and assessing really what do I want to be doing differently. I don't think my life has changed, but I think I've definitely learned a lot about how to deal with life in a different way. It's an incredibly important skill, and not enough people really consider it and pay attention to it and develop it. I would definitely recommend this program as a way to be able to achieve that, or find a way to start your journey around managing in this environment, because without that I think it's going to be really hard to thrive going forward.